Right now, on the flight deck of the USS Boxer, engines are running. CH-53 Super Stallions, the heaviest helicopters in the U.S. military, are spooling up, rotor blades cutting the salt air above the Persian Gulf. Below deck, Marines are suiting up. Body armor, ammunition, final radio checks. In minutes, they will climb to the flight deck and board the waiting helicopters. 20 minutes of open water separates them from a 12-square-kilometer island that most people have never heard of. Abu Musa. It sits at the western entrance to the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow corridor through which 20% of the world's oil supply must pass. Whoever holds Abu Musa holds a gun to the throat of the global energy market. Right now, Iran holds it, and as long as Iran holds it, over 300 oil tankers remain trapped inside the Persian Gulf with nowhere to go. This week, Axios confirmed what Pentagon planners have known for months. Abu Musa is target number one, not Karg Island, not the nuclear sites. This island first. 10,000 U.S. troops are already in the region. Another 10,000 are on their way. But the operation begins here, on this flight deck, with these men. And what makes this moment extraordinary, and what almost no one is reporting, is that this island has been disputed territory for 53 years. Iran took it by force in 1971. The UAE has never accepted that, and the United States is about to walk into the middle of a legal and historical conflict that goes back decades. The rotors reach full speed. This is what happens next. To understand why Abu Musa matters so much, you need to look at a map. The Strait of Hormuz is not open ocean. It is a corridor. At its widest, barely 40 miles across. The navigable shipping lane, the path a fully loaded supertanker must follow, is in places less than 2 miles wide. A vessel the length of 3 football fields cannot stop quickly. It cannot turn sharply. When it enters the strait, it is committed. Abu Musa sits directly at the western approach. Any ship entering or leaving the Gulf passes within close range of its coastline. Iran has not left that geography unused. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps units are stationed on Abu Musa with C-802 anti-ship missile batteries, subsonic cruise missiles with a range of over 120 kilometers, and a warhead capable of disabling or sinking a frigate. Shore-based radar installations on the island give Iran real-time visibility over every vessel transiting the strait. Drone launch units are embedded in the island's interior, capable of putting a Shahed 136 into the air and onto a target within minutes. When over 300 oil tankers were trapped inside the Persian Gulf after the strait was closed, the Iranian assets on Abu Musa were a significant part of why no one dared try to push through. That changes the moment the United States takes the island. The missile batteries go dark. The radar goes offline. The drone launch sites are gone. And suddenly, the western entrance to the strait is no longer a kill zone. It becomes a corridor. But here is where this story gets complicated, and where history becomes a weapon just as much as a missile. Abu Musa does not legally belong to Iran. At least, that is what the United Arab Emirates has argued in the United Nations for over 50 years. In November 1971, the day before the UAE officially became an independent nation, Iranian military forces landed on Abu Musa and on 2 nearby islands, Greater Tunb and Lesser Tunb. The Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, ordered the operation. Britain, which was withdrawing its military presence from the Gulf, offered no resistance. The UAE was not yet a country. It had no army, it had no navy, it had no choice. Since that day, Iran has maintained full military control of all 3 islands. The UAE has never accepted the annexation. It has raised the issue at the Arab League, at the UN General Assembly, at the Gulf Cooperation Council, every major international forum available to it. The official UAE position, unchanged for half a century, is that the islands are occupied Emirati territory. Iran's position is equally firm. It considers the islands sovereign Iranian territory, citing historical claims dating back centuries, and has repeatedly stated that any attempt to remove its forces would be treated as an act of war. Now comes the part that no one in the international media is saying clearly. If the United States moves to take Abu Musa as part of an operation against Iran, it would technically be returning disputed territory that Iran seized by force to a U.S. ally that has claimed it for 53 years. That is either a liberation or an occupation, depending entirely on where you are standing. The question of who is right on the legal history of these islands is genuinely unresolved. And it matters, because whoever controls them after this conflict ends will define the balance of power in the Gulf for the next generation. The super stallions are already airborne. Inside the cabin of the lead CH-53E, the noise is total. Not the kind of noise you hear. The kind you feel in your chest, in your jaw, in the soles of your boots pressed flat against the cargo deck. 54 Marines sit in 2 rows facing each other. No one is talking. The rotors are too loud for that. Each man runs through the same mental checklist he has run 100 times before. Grip, breath, target. Behind them, through the open ramp, the USS Boxer is already shrinking into the Gulf haze. 800 feet of amphibious assault ship. 40,000 tons, well-deck flooded and ready. AAV-7 armored vehicles chained inside with engines idling, waiting for the order to drive into open water. The Boxer does not follow the helicopters. It doesn't need to. By the time the Marines are on the ground, the ship will be close enough to begin the second wave. At 40,000 feet above the strait, 2 EA-18G Growlers have already activated. The pilots don't announce it. There is no warning. The AN/ALQ-99 jamming pods mounted under each wing begin transmitting, a wall of electronic noise across every frequency the Iranian radar installations on Abu Musa are using. In the underground operations center on the island, screens that were tracking contacts across the Gulf fill with static. Operators reach for their controls. Nothing responds. The picture of the sky they have been watching for hours is gone. They do not know where the helicopters are. They do not know how many there are. They do not know how close. They have less than 4 minutes. At the same moment, F/A-18 Super Hornets from the carrier air wing roll in on the known missile positions. The C-802 anti-ship batteries on Abu Musa's southern coastline were photographed by reconnaissance satellites 48 hours ago. The coordinates are already loaded. Each Hornet releases a GBU-31 JDAM, a 2,000-pound bomb guided to within 3 meters of its designated point. The pilots don't see the impact. They are already climbing and turning before the first one hits. Inside the Super Stallion, the crew chief holds up 5 fingers. 5 minutes out. The Marines shift forward in their seats. The man nearest the ramp checks the safety on his M4 one more time. Not because he forgot, but because it's something to do with his hands. The helicopter drops altitude fast, descending toward the water to stay below any remaining radar coverage. The Gulf surface is close enough now that spray occasionally catches the open ramp. Salt water on body armor. The island is visible. 12 square kilometers of rock and sand, the C-802 launch site's already burning. The crew chief closes his fist. 1 minute. The Super Stallion flares hard, nose up, speed bleeding off, the entire aircraft shuddering as it transitions from forward flight to hover. Then the wheels touch. The ramp drops. The Marines move. From the Boxer's flight deck to boots on the ground, 19 minutes. Taking Abu Musa is not the end of the operation. It is the beginning of something much larger. Because Abu Musa does not stand alone. 2 miles to its north sight Greater Tunb and Lesser Tunb, the same islands Iran seized in 1971 on the same day in the same operation. Pentagon planning includes securing all three simultaneously. The logic is straightforward. Take one and leave the others, and Iran retains radar coverage and missile positioning on the eastern approach to the strait. The entire operation only works if all three are cleared. Once that happens, the geometry changes. The U.S. Navy establishes a protected corridor. 300 oil tankers, crews waiting, cargo worth billions, start moving again. The effect on global energy markets is immediate. But the question no one in Washington is publicly answering is simple. What happens to these islands when the shooting stops? Does the U.S. hand them to the UAE, which has claimed them for 53 years? Does Iran, or whatever government follows in Tehran, eventually return? Does the corridor stay open, or does this war simply delay the same threat by a decade? There is no clean answer. And that is exactly why these three islands matter beyond this operation. Right now, none of that is what the Marines on the ground are thinking about. They have secured the landing zone. They are moving through the island's interior, clearing positions one by one. The burning wreckage of the C-802 batteries is visible on the southern coast. Somewhere to the north, the second and third waves are already inbound. Greater Tunb and Lesser Tunb, same sequence, same objective. 3 islands, 1 strait, 20% of the world's oil. Who owned these rocks? Who took them? And who holds them when this is over? That story is still being written. And the next chapter is being written right now.